Our next speaker is not a stranger to the speaking stage, both nationally and internationally. Marilyn Barnewall has been highly demanded of, in part because of the in-depth research that she has done on the world of private banking, profitability, and her yearly published surveys. As a result of her research, she coined the terms like upscale, active and passive, and those types of investors. Her research became known as the active-passive energy syndrome, otherwise known as APES, and included interviews with over 500 of America's self-made affluents. After 2 decades of working for banks directly, she started her own company specializing in marketing segmentation, strategies designed to identify affluent and middle-class customer niches. She started with wealth creation, private banking in America, and in 1989, Forbes magazine hailed her as the Dean of American Private Banking. She's also been named Who's Who in America in 2005, Who's Who in American Women, 2006, Who's Who in Finance and Business, 2006, and Who's Who in the World, 2008. Town & Country magazine calls her the guru of North American private banking. And please give a warm welcome to my friend, financial guru, Miss Marilyn Barnewall.
Thank you very much, Representative Connie. You know, one of the things that I've learned in the past couple of months since I met Representative Ray Scott at the last Save America thing that I took part in the Doubletree Inn in Grand Junction. I'm a Denver native, by the way, transplanted to Grand Junction in '95. There's a difference in the words politician and elected official. These two guys are elected officials. I have had so much of my own confidence restored between the two of them and the work they've done on state banks. The one thing I want to say about the word state banks before we even start, it sounds like a socialist term, like the bank you're going to be doing business with, driving up, you know, the ATMs and all of that, car loans. It isn't. That's not what it is. But I'm not going to talk about what a state bank is until I kind of get to the end of this presentation, mainly because I want to tell you why we need them first and what the benefits are that we get from state banks. Sounds like it's a dull term. Banking is not the most exciting topic in the world. And then I realized I was all in black today, and talking about banking in the current economic environment was probably not a good idea. I do want to apologize for having to talk to you sitting down. I have arthritis throughout my spine, and I can't stand very long. That's why I retired from the speaker's circuit back in '93. The other thing I will tell you, I will be clearing my throat. I might as well get all this out in the open right up front. I had throat surgery this year. I look a little like I had a date with OJ, but I didn't. But the fact is, I clear my throat as a result of it. I'll get through it. I want to start by showing you some slides. The slides have absolutely nothing to do with state banks. They have everything to do with why we need state banks. In Boise, Idaho, 1 out of every 21 homes is in foreclosure. In Sarasota, Florida, also 1 in 21 homes in foreclosure. Lakeland, Florida, 1 in 21. Well, when we get to Tampa, 1 in 20 homes in foreclosure. Port St. Lucie, Florida, 1 in 19 homes in foreclosure. Sacramento, California, Nancy Pelosi's home out there, 1 in 19 homes in foreclosure. Deltona, Florida, 1 in 17 homes in foreclosure. Bakersfield, California, 1 in 17 homes in foreclosure. Now we're in Senator Harry Reid's home state, Reno, Nevada, 1 in 16 homes in foreclosure. Vallejo, California, 1 in 16 homes in foreclosure. Orlando, Florida, Disney World, 1 in 15 homes in foreclosure. Merced, California, 1 in 14 homes in foreclosure. Stockton, California, 1 in 14 homes. Riverside, California, that's about as middle class as you can get. 1 of 14 homes in foreclosure. Miami, 1 in 14 homes in foreclosure. Phoenix, we're getting closer to home. 1 in 14 homes in foreclosure. Modesto, California, 1 in 14. Cape Coral, Florida, 1 in 12. And now we're back to Senator Reed's state, Las Vegas. 1 in 9 homes are in foreclosure in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve Act passed, as you all know, in 1913. So in 2013, the Federal Reserve will be 100 years old. If we allow it to continue, I would recommend an early burial, and one, by the way, without honor. It didn't earn it. I was interested in hearing John Michael refer to the Fed as, a private corporation. I call it a cartel. It's a cartel of bankers owned and run for the benefit of bankers, just like OPEC runs its cartel to the advantage of oil-producing nations. The Fed, in my view, is not a legitimate central bank. And I want to take just a couple of seconds and tell you why. The Federal Reserve, if you really look at what it does, is a wholesaler of our money. It's a middleman. It really does nothing. It creates nothing, and it gets paid very well for doing that. That's really the truth about the Federal Reserve System. And it's a system. It isn't a bank. So when you say Federal Reserve Bank, it is an inaccurate statement. It's the Federal Reserve System. I say it's not legitimate. I want to talk about the Constitution of the United States of America, Article 1, Section 8. The Congress shall have the power. It doesn't say the Federal Reserve System. It doesn't say even the Federal Reserve Bank. The Congress shall have power to borrow money on the credit of the United States to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and Indian tribes. The Congress shall have power to coin money, regulate the value thereof and of foreign coin, and fix the standard weights and measures. Now, thanks to Congressman Ron Paul and a lot of other people who had a lot of courage, because I started writing about Ron Paul and his bill to get the Federal Reserve audited at the very time it started. And boy, initially he couldn't find anyone to support him. And the Federal Reserve was performing so badly that he ended up with almost the entire House of Representatives supporting his legislation. But as John Michael was saying, the audit that they did, and it's only a partial audit, about half, they estimate, they really don't know how much, a great deal of what the Federal Reserve System does is off balance sheet. Now, if that doesn't scare you, nothing will. I have a friend who's very highly placed in government who has told me that the only way they will ever really know what the Federal Reserve owes and has agreed to is if and when it fails, and he says, by the way, this is not a day-to-day thing, it's an hour-to-hour thing at this current time. But he says the only way they will know is to have people come forward with the off-balance sheet deals that have been made, and they're going to have to be able to prove they have the deal, and if they can prove it, we'll have to deal with it, and if they can't prove it, we'll say, sorry, we can't deal with it. But the audit shows $16 trillion in zero-interest loans, or near zero. The interesting thing was that they were secret loans, that they were to American and foreign banks and businesses, and as John Michael said, the usual names. Citibank got, I want to go back up here. Citibank got 2.5 trillion. Morgan Stanley got 2.04 trillion. Merrill Lynch got 1.9 trillion. Bank of America 1.3 trillion. And since B of A and Merrill Lynch are now the same, they ended up getting 3.2, so they got the highest amount. So it wasn't just Wall Street bankers that got money. 3.1 trillion went to foreign financial institutions. The biggest one, I believe, was Deutsche Bank in Germany, which is, you know, we're hearing all about how strong the German economy is right now, that they're going to take over the Europe, they and Sarkozy in France and so on. Well, they sure got a lot of money. One of the things, by the way, that I think is confusing to Americans is, how can they do this? How can they hide this money? The United States, the International Monetary Fund and the Federal Reserve System are kissing cousins. The United States supports and pays for 40% of the International Monetary Fund's activities. So it's very hard to identify the funds flowing out. Are they international monetary funds? Are they Federal Reserve funds? That's how they get away with a lot of this, just so you know. The point of the photographs and these comments about the Fed, because I'm here to talk about state banks, not the Federal Reserve System, while they were doing all of this, 6.5 million American homeowners were either delinquent or facing foreclosure on their mortgages. Every one of those red dots that was up there is a heartbreak, a broken dream. And they're giving our money to Deutsche Bank. So, are we having an adventure that I don't know about? Anyway, self-fulfilling prophecy here. Here's our debt, and if you think it can be repaid, you're dreaming. A new article that's out, research data, if all money owned by all American banks, businesses, and individuals was gathered up today and sent to the U.S. government, there would not be enough to pay just our national debt. The only way to create more money is to go out and make more money, which immediately does what? Creates more debt, because every dollar that's printed is already 46 cents in the hole. So there is no way that we can pay this debt. This is the game that's being played, and it is being played, and it has been planned. It's been very well planned. I wrote a chapter of the history of the change of the banking legislation that our legislators gave us after the Great Depression. Glass-Steagall, of course, the McFadden Act that prevented interstate branch banking and so on. But it goes back even more. And any of you that want to read that chapter out of The Flight of the Black Swan, which is my latest book, I wrote another one that was about fiat currency and that kind of thing. Black Swan is more about the collapse of the Federal Reserve System and our currency. I'll be glad to send you that chapter over the internet on email. My email address is Marilyn Writes, W-R-I-T-E-S, Marilyn Writes @juno.com. Just send me an email, and I'll be glad to send you a copy of Chapter 9 that deals with the economic history of the banking changes. This is not an accident. It's not a mistake. It's not something that happened because George W. Bush is dumb or Obama isn't doing precisely what Obama wants to have done with the economy collapsing. This has been a very planned event.